Hi Sam, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, before we get into what you're building, I would like to know about yourself. So, can you just let me know, like, what has made you, to bring something like Valearnis? How have you bought into that idea? Is this your first startup, or have you done something previously as well? So, just let's get into that a little bit.
For sure. So, yeah, my story is a little bit varied. I've kind of been all over the place. Yeah, so my name's Sam. I grew up in a country town in Western Australia called Boddington. It's a mining town, and my main idea out of high school was to do geology in university and work in the mining sector. I studied geology. I loved the academic side of it, but the reality of working in the mining sector wasn't really for me. So after graduating, I was kind of figuring out what should I do. I didn't really want to work in mining, and I was volunteering in schools that my parents teach at because both my parents are educators. And I realized that a lot of the issues that students were facing in school with their curricula, with their learning areas, with all of the apps they were using, they were the same issues that I was facing in school when I was in high school. And I realized that,
Yeah.
okay, maybe I can do something here. Education is the route for me instead of geology. So I took what I learned from my degree, and I thought, okay, I can make like some really interesting mathematics and science lessons for these kids. I can do some quizzes with them, and I was starting to like volunteer with them and tutor them. And that was good. And then I thought, okay, maybe I can actually try and build a business around this. So I had the idea that, all right, I'll make like a bunch of learning material. I'll meet a bunch of teachers, a bunch of educators, and we'll make heaps of learning material. And we'll take that to an investor, and we'll get enough money to help us like build an app, teach these kids or something. Obviously, that idea was terrible. That isn't a viable option at all. Because no one's going to give you money if you just have like an idea. Unless you're like San
Yeah.
Francisco or something and it's like, the AI bubble or something. It normally people won't give you money unless there's like something they can play around with, a demo, a prototype, something. But unfortunately, in my degree, it was a pure science degree, no computer science background, no coding, no programming. So I said, okay, let's just scrap this for now, and I will go back to the drawing board and I'll actually learn how to code. So I went online, I learned for like a year how to code. This was before AI, so it was a lot trickier back then. But I learned Ruby on Rails, which is a
Mhm.
framework built on Ruby coding language. And I made a very, very simple prototype from there. Just a basic platform where we could put in our lessons for kids to kind of give them curriculum relevant content in like bite-sized ways. Very, very basic, very hard coded. And from there, we got into a pre-accelerator program called Plus 8. And after that, we
Mhm.
won the pitch night. We won the program basically, and I got enough recognition from there from XEDU, which is a edtech startup accelerator in Finland. And from there, the rest is history basically, where I managed to get enough traction and enough sort of recognition from partners and everything that I could build a team, global team. So I'm mostly based in Perth, Australia, but our whole team is all over the world. So we all work completely remotely. No office. Our office is on Slack. And yeah, we've really just been trying to build a better system for students. And more recently, we've really been trying to improve critical thinking skills, problem solving. A lot of the research that's coming out right now is that not only students, but me and you as well, we upload a lot of our cognition to AI when we do deal with these AI assistants. And very basic tasks are now becoming, very rudimentary tasks are now being offloaded from our thinking processes to AI. And we're losing the skills and abilities to think through very basic problems. So this
Yeah.
is inherently an issue with kids because it's a developmental time, and they're losing that cognitive ability. So Valearnis is really trying to solve that with improving critical thinking, with bringing back that Socratic method, and really pulling back things, enhance these problem solving skills. So we know these kids are going to be going out into the job sector one day, um, in a very AI dominated world,
Yeah.
and the skills that they have are going to be really important if they can't show that they are able to think critically, if they're able to solve problems, if they're able to be versatile, liquid. If they can't do that, then they're going to have a really hard time. And the
Right.
curriculums right now around the world are very archaic. These are older curriculums that are focusing on memory, rote learning, memory regurgitation, just spitting out facts and showing that you can remember facts of like different dates and different times and whatever. But that is not going to be very useful in the world that these kids are going to go out in one day. So we're really focusing on enhancing their critical thinking skills and making sure that they can solve problems a little bit better.
But it's such a great concept and such a great initiative, to be able to learn better with AI rather than replacing AI with your current education. But I'm sure when AI came into, pretty much every sector, it was quite difficult for traditional businesses to adapt AI. And I believe education is one of the most traditional businesses. It's been the same since ages. It might have updated the curriculum, it might have updated with like digital classrooms, the online assignments, but the way we study has always been the same, I believe. So when you went on to schools or educational institutes with the concept that we could have AI, what was the initial response like? Was it something that they were not open to, or they were always welcome to that concept? How was it like?
So initially, when ChatGPT came out, was actually around the time of our first version, Valearnis version one's launch, which was. I'll go into that in a second, but that launch was really bad. But I'll explain that in a second. But
Yeah.
around that time, that also was the time that we were in schools, we were talking to institutions, and Valearnis was initially the initial version was going to be a school app in school for kids used in classroom. And yeah, the initial vibe from these institutions was that they were pretty scared of AI. The initial reaction was very knee-jerk reaction to just like, oh, we're banning AI in classrooms, we're banning these kids from using AI. Obviously that doesn't work. You can't really ban kids from doing anything. Like I remember when I was in high school, they would ban us from using Wikipedia for our sources. Um, which is pretty funny because like Wikipedia is actually not a bad place for getting generally pretty good information, especially at the high school level. So what we would do is just copy the information from Wikipedia, but then we would just scroll to the bottom where Wikipedia cites its, 12 to 13 different sources for the article, and then we would cite
Yeah.
those. Obviously, kids know how to get around these sort of restrictions,
Right.
and I'll actually argue that giving them these restrictions and watching them get around it is a pretty useful learning experience. It actually is good to have them get around these sort of issues. But yeah, knee-jerk reaction was very, okay, AI is not good for education. It's a problem. It's letting kids cheat, blah blah blah. Then there was a really big academic push, especially in universities, for we need to focus on these AI detection software, and
Mm.
that was a really big thing. We're like, okay, we have to really go hard on that. And again, let's not let the users use AI, but we have to use a lot of AI detection. And now AI detection is pretty much useless. You could put in like the American Declaration of Independence into an AI detection machine, and it would tell
Yeah.
you that it was 100% generated by AI. So obviously, that level of like thinking was really archaic, and it was coming from a place of fear because educational institutions know that it takes them a long time to adapt to current events, current trends. And
Yeah.
they knew that they didn't have the tools or the skills available to react quickly enough and to change their curriculums fast enough. So all they could do at that point in time was just ban it. Obviously now they've been dealing with kids using AI for 3 years now, and they know that banning it isn't the right route. So I have been noticing in the recent year or so that educational institutions are now a little bit more open to integrating AI, but
Mhm.
definitely was quite a sticky point at the start. That is actually the reason why Valearnis is currently a home offering only. So it's meant to be used in the home, tutoring support. It's a tutoring alternative. Homeschooling is quite big in Australia, so it's also for homeschooling support and grade
Yeah.
improvement. but predominantly used in the home because of the exorbitant amount of educational institutions. Just they move slow, and that's pretty much the reason why we're in homes and not schools at this point in time.
That's nice. That actually, so to give you a little bit of pre context, I've done my bachelor's in Australia as well. And back in the days, so I've graduated around right when ChatGPT launched, was the year I graduated. So before that,
Okay.
it was all pretty much traditional. It was all pretty much traditional, like writing down assignments, being able to
Yeah.
cite, like you said, not being able to cite on Wikipedia, and then I mean, like pretty much everyone gets their head around on a way to crack that. But right after ChatGPT came into an action, the university started implementing, again the ChatGPT detection, the AI detection tools and stuff like that. So when I think you have been more into the schooling part of it. But if you had to take learners into universities, what sort of advancement have you thought, or if you haven't, what would you like to do with the universities?
Yeah, so right now, Valearnis itself is an educational platform for high school students. So it's for years 6 all the way to 12. We'll be launching our version 2 next month, and that'll be for 8 different
Okay.
countries' curriculums, which is very exciting. But it is
Mhm.
predominantly a school students application. But beyond
Okay.
Valearnis, what we're also working on is something that we call Project Socrates, which is an
Mhm.
AI engine for bringing the
Mhm.
Socratic method to learning. And this is an engine that sits at the infrastructure level. So this sits underneath applications. This is an API that would be called by multiple different applications, institutions, programs will be made using this technology. And this is designed to really enhance a user's critical thinking response to whatever the subject matter is at hand. So let's say you have to teach someone X and Y, but
Yeah.
the way that you're going to teach them is probably a very old way of like just memory regurgitation, and they're not really
Yeah.
going to absorb the how and the why and the concept behind what you're trying to teach them. In the past, you would have that very back and forth, one-on-one conversation with your professor, or in ancient Greek times, it would be your philosopher, like Socrates. And
Mm.
Socrates would bring in something like, why do you think this is that way? Why do you think that's that way? What around you signifies this or that? And that sort of thinking really pulls you out of the subject area and lets you analyze the things that make it true. So instead of thinking, okay, World War II started in 1939, and I can remember that date, and I can tell you that. Instead of thinking that, we would pull it back and think, okay, what actually led to this, or
Right.
what are the sort of things that were in place that actually caused this series of events to happen? What
Right.
would cause this to happen again in the future? So it's really bringing it to the critical analysis point of view. So this engine, Project Socrates, is designed to be used in schools, in homeschooling, in universities, and in corporate training as well. Because let's say you're trying to upskill, your 30-year-old workers, your 50-year-old workers for a new skill, but you don't want them to just like go for training and you spend some money and they tick the box and they get the certificate and you're
Yeah.
sure that, okay, it's good enough, they've got the new skill. They probably don't have the new skill, they just went for the training session. So if you want to actually ensure that your users, whatever age they are absorbing and actually understanding the concepts around what you're trying to teach them, that's where Project Socrates comes in.
That's pretty impressive. And that's actually, I believe, the need of the moment, because we do need a critical thinking for, to advance in any field that we're working, or especially for the generation that's learning with ChatGPT. Critical thinking is going to be one of the rarest skills, I believe. So that helps with whatever you believe. Um, so how exactly do you use AI as part of your software? How exactly is it integrated, and what sort of advancements it brings out with the existing software?
So Venice version 1 was made fully before AI came out, basically. It launched just as AI was launching, like ChatGPT, but it itself was made completely without AI. And we would handcraft the lessons ourselves. We'd have to build the lessons ourselves and manually add them to the app. And it was a very non-scalable process of education. So whenever we would talk to investors and VCs and everything, they would always tell us like, okay, your platform looks good. We like the education that you're bringing to these kids, but you have to make every piece of curriculum by hand. So this doesn't really scale very well. Like if you want to do a new year
Yeah.
level or a new curriculum area or a new subject, you literally have to like build it yourself and make it yourself and then upload it. It was a very onerous process. So that already was an issue on the investor side of things. And then when we launched the app, we launched it completely as a premium product, which means that you have to subscribe with your credit card immediately on sign up. This
Mm.
was kind of done because I had been working on this for so long that I finally wanted some sort of return.
Yeah.
It was like a frustration. So I was like, oh, okay, if I get this amount of subscribers, I'll have this amount of revenue. That's fantastic. And the team can start getting paid, which would really be fantastic. But unfortunately, when people don't know your brand and they don't know if they can trust you, they're not going to
Yeah.
be putting in their credit card details on something that they
Right.
don't even understand yet. So we noticed a lot of people coming to the website, and then we saw a lot of people dropping off at the subscription point. So we knew there was friction there. Beyond that, the people that did subscribe that were paying for the app, if you're paying for an app, you expect it to be working really well. You don't expect bugs, you don't expect any
Yeah.
issues. And we're a startup, and this was our first offering, our first sort of MVP out there in the wild. Because people were paying for this, they expected a certain level of value. And we were really having a hard time matching that. We're having a lot of issues, a lot of bugs. And we definitely launched to a paid product too early. What we should have done is launch like a freemium version, a very basic version, and let people use it for free, and then take that feedback and go from there. We didn't do that, so that was a bad launch. So we took it offline and we went back into build mode. And as we were doing that, all of the AI tools are coming out, Claude, Llama, ChatGPT, everything. And we started to realize, okay, this can at least help us with the scalability problem in our app, where instead of
Yeah.
making our lessons by hand now, we've already made like 1,000 lessons. We can just take this bank of lessons that we've made in our own tone and our own methodology, and we can feed that into an AI, and then we can start
Mhm.
generating more lessons. So right now, we do predominantly use Gemini because Google has given us a bunch of credits, which has been really nice. So we use Gemini in our in-house lesson generator to generate lessons for multiple difficulty levels, for multiple year levels, subject areas, and different curriculum as well. So these can make lessons that have diagrams in them, mathematics lessons, history lessons, whatever, and they plug in directly into our application. So very handy. And then beyond that, we have a Socratic tutor within the application as well, and that uses a few different models in its own way. So yeah, AI is pretty much fully within our application, but not in an onerous way. And we're not
Mhm.
really like shoving it down the throats of our users. So we try to use AI to develop the application, but then we don't want the application itself to just be like a wrapper for like GPT or whatever, and it's just costing us tokens and tokens and tokens every time someone uses the app. So AI
Yeah.
is used in the generation of the lessons and everything, but when someone's actually using the app, everything's static. It's not costing us extra tokens. So yeah, we've found a good balance between.
That's nice. Can you just walk me through on, how the application works? Like, let's say I'm a user or I'm a parent who's wanting to use it for my child for homeschooling. How would that be like? What sort of, personalizations that I could do? What exactly does the application look like and how user friendly is it for the kids?
Sure. So our initial offering was not user friendly at all. Everyone had to have like a separate login depending on if they were a student or a parent. Everyone had
Mhm.
to remember their own username and password. It was a really bad system. So our new system, we really took design inspiration from UX inspiration from Netflix. So we like that single sign-on system where
Yeah.
one user signs on, but then you have multiple nested user groups within that. So right now, how it works is a parent or educator would sign up for Valearnis because they are the one with the incentive to educate their kids, most likely. There will be use cases where a very academically inclined student may just sign up themselves, which is great. But predominantly, most of our users are on the sign up side are parents and guardians. they're signing up. There's no credit card required, completely free. And once they go through the sign up process, it pretty much looks pretty similar to like most streaming platforms you see, where you can just add more and more profiles from there. And the profiles you're adding are the student profiles. So you make a student profile, you log in for that student, you choose a year level, and then you're taken to the dashboard. You're given option to do the one-on-one tutoring with our virtual tutor that will tutor you on any relevant subject area for your year level and your curriculum area. Or you go to our lessons page, which has all of our different lessons depending on what you want to learn, like maths, history, whatever. But you have different difficulty versions. Every lesson gives you experience points. We have a progression system. You have a character that you level up. We have house factions for cooperative leaderboards and cooperative progression. So there's a lot in there. And we also have dynamic reporting, so you can check how you're actually doing in these subject areas. If you want to tell your teacher or your parent about it, you can automatically export it to them. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to explain over video.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, but yeah, taking inspiration from Netflix is something that I find very interesting because in Netflix definitely does have a great UI. And if a kid has to use an application like that, then Netflix is something that you can copy paste into your product.
Oh, for Project Socrates. Okay, yeah. So Valearnis is a B2C offering, so that's for a user, and that's where I would explain that to the user on how Valearnis works, as I just explained. But Project Socrates is our B2B offering. So this is an infrastructure level
Okay.
thing. This is not something that I would sell to a user, but this is something a university
Yeah.
student would end up using throughout their degree without actually realizing that they're using it. So it would be integrated in Blackboard or whatever applications they use in
Yes.
their university. It would be fed their specific proprietary curriculum area, but then the way it was teaching it, that's what's coming from us.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense now. If so how was your first user like? Did you get any feedback from the user? How difficult was it to get your first user? Or what was the experience around it?
Yes, yeah. Our initial launch, our first users were all parents. Well, our first signups were all parents. Parents that wanted homeschooling support. We had a lot of homeschooling parents initially. We also had parents that were just looking for a tutoring alternative.
Yeah.
Tutoring is quite an expensive endeavor. I've tutored a lot in my time in university and after university as well. Tutoring, you're paying an expert per hour to teach your kid a specific thing, and
Yeah.
it by nature it is a very expensive process because you are paying someone per hour of their time.
Right.
So because of that, tutoring can really add up, especially when you start needing it more than like once a month. If you need it once a week, that's going to add up to quite a bit of money. Average tutoring price is about $70 an hour, so you're going to be looking at like $280 a month. Whereas a platform like ours, I mean, it's like $15-16 a month. So the tutoring cost benefit there is very apparent. So a lot of our initial users were homeschooling parents and parents looking for tutoring support. And the initial feedback was that from most people was that, oh, I wish you had like a free version of the app because I don't want to like sign up my credit card straight away. That one we 100% took to heart because we put that into version 2 because we realized that people do need a very free basic version of your application, not just a free trial. Like the version of your app should just be out there for people to play around with and use. And if they want to upgrade for premium features, they can. But if people are not used to the older school idea of like paying for software upfront and you get everything at once. That's a very old school idea that I tried to implement and it didn't work. So that was the initial financial feedback. The other feedback was that our initial lessons, the way they interacted with them was not very interactive. Our question types are not very interactive. It was a lot of like just doing little multiple choice answers, and the app just wasn't robust enough for users back then, and there just wasn't enough learning content as well. So yeah, those were the main pieces of negative feedback we got at the start.
Right. So do you have any competitors at the moment?
Yeah, I mean the space does have a bunch of competitors. I guess you have IXL, you have Education Perfect. Those are two that I can think off the top of my head. Education is not the most crowded market, I would say, but there definitely are offerings out there. But we're very well positioned ourselves, so not too worried.
So how different do you think are you from your competitors? What would be the USP that you have?
Yeah, so our main focus on critical thinking and problem solving, that is our USP at this point in time. We're improving a skill that goes beyond what is required in the curriculum because we know what these
Mhm.
kids need is better problem solving skills. But what curriculums are focusing on right now is memory regurgitation. So the current offerings out there, our competitors, are focusing only on that. What we focus on is, okay, yeah, fine, we're going to tick all your curriculum boxes. That's fine because we know this kid still needs to graduate. So that's important. But what's really important for us is that once this kid graduates, they can think critically, they can solve problems in their life, and they can be versatile in the future. So that helps everyone. That helps the future, that helps the economy, that helps the jobs in the industry. So it's an important endeavor. And it's not an easy issue to fix, but yeah, our main
Yeah.
USP is focusing on critical thinking. Beyond that, we do put a lot of RPG game mechanics into our application because that's just a personal motivation for me because I know that those mechanics can help users engage better with programs. Like a program like IXL is really just like doing a digital textbook, which isn't very engaging. So we really bring in like character customization, the personalization, progression. These are really important structures to have around a learning environment to ensure that your
Yeah.
users are consistently engaging with it.
Right. So how are you dealing with marketing the product? Do you do any sort of, offline marketing, or how do you reach out to, people?
Yeah, so on our initial launch, when we did the version one, we were doing a lot of paid advertising back then, Google ads, YouTube ads, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We did actually see a pretty good amount of feedback from our paid sponsored Google search result ads and from our YouTube ads. This is predominantly where we saw the
Mhm.
most benefit. We would see direct sign-ups from there. Um, Now the landscape has changed a bit since then because nowadays when you Google something, it doesn't even show Google results anymore. It's like an AI generated answer for the thing. So for when we're going to launch our version 2 next month, we are taking these sort of changes into mind. We are actually really looking at Reddit, funnily enough, for advertising because Reddit seems to be like one of the last bastions for like actual human chats and interactions and question and answers. So that is an avenue. But beyond that, yeah, our marketing team just does a lot of organic posting on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube Shorts. So we just do like general educational videos. Because the current version of the app isn't out yet, we're not really
Yeah.
pointing people to go to Valearnis right now. We're just educating them on like fun topics, quick bite-sized information. But yeah, it's just organic educational content.
Reddit is actually a good idea because I spoke to one of the guests in my previous episodes. They've got about 10,000 to I'm guessing around 50,000 of users just because they were on a Reddit group. So they owned a Reddit group. And as soon as
Oh,
they launched,
they own the subreddit. Okay.
yes, they owned a subreddit. And as soon as they launched, they were able to get at least initial users to, test the products and stuff. So Reddit is actually really great if you wanted to try that out. Another thing that I would suggest is go for GEO because that is where AI is picking up all the information. And I believe Reddit is
Mm.
going to be helpful in that context. So if you create
Yep.
blog posts around what people are actually looking out for, let's say a parent is looking out for how to use AI for my child's education or something like that, and you create a blog on that, AI will pick that information up and show up on Google. So that's going to work for your case as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I am a little bit active on Medium, so I may take that
Oh,
into advice and yeah, start putting a little bit more on
yeah.
there.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I think this is something that you might have done a bit of marketing research because you'll have to scale up your product in the future. So 5 years from now, what do you think education or education institutes are going to look like? And how do you think your product would be able to meet up to the market demand?
Okay, good question. National institutions think will look like how they should have looked back in like 2023. I think that's when they're going to finally actually catch up. I think in
Mhm.
5 years, you're actually going to finally see AI in classrooms. I think we're going to see a lot more physical AI in classrooms, like a little, assistant that assists the teacher that sits in the classroom. We would love to integrate Socrates into something like that. But Yeah, I see it more as like AI assisted teaching methodology. So the methodology. So the teacher calls on the little AI assistant when needed, and within the 5 year period is when we're really going to start seeing hopefully proper regulation on AI, and
Yeah.
finally getting AI output that is a little bit more consistent and predictable. So right now
Mhm.
it's really hard to get predictable output from AI. And when you're dealing with kids, especially in a classroom, things can get a little bit complicated. So it's important that AI output is a little bit more predictable. And I do see that hopefully coming within 5 years. So that's within schools. But in 5 years, I also see a lot more private online educational offerings. So I
Yeah.
feel that parents are going to get more and more frustrated and worried about the future for their kids in this AI dominated world. And we're going to see more effects in the job market or the future job market. And parents are going to be frustrated that what their kids are learning in school over the next 5 years is not really gearing them up for what they need to be learning. And there's going to be this incentive for private online institutions to provide a different form of education for these kids. And I definitely do actually see a lot more competition for ourselves in 5 years. But I think with something like Socrates, we're well positioned.
That's nice. That's nice. So I think that's the end of today's episode, Sam. It was really nice getting to know you, what you're building, and the type of product that you're building for kids with AI. I just hope good luck for whatever you're working towards, and I hope I use it for my kids one day, probably. So yeah, that's a great product, and thanks for your time as well.
Thank you so much. It was a great chat. Thank you for that.
Nice talking to you. I'll see you. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you.